Thank you and well done, Adrian. It was quite productive. With all the tips that you have given should be useful to the business community who are coming from Singapore. And I can tell you, we have we are the first Qatari bank to step in Singapore way back in 2006 during the International Monetary Fund time. In 2004 and 5, I had a privilege of looking at the mentor prime minister who was here. The Father Amir was hosting him, and subsequently I had visited Singapore monetary authorities, and we were building relationship. Enterprise Singapore was instituting our bilateral relationship, and our office was suggested by Suntec by Enterprise Singapore, and again the bilateral relationships were growing well. The mission was set in 2006. His Excellency Ambassador was kind enough to put the prospects in place, and both of you have elucidated in detailed terms. I'm going to show how we can leverage, how we can give these tips from a professional perspective. What are the various nucleus of information we have, how we are enabling the business community, what are the changing dynamics in terms of the overall market opportunities for Qataris who wants to invest in Singapore. And similarly, Singaporean companies or individual or institutions who wants to step into Qatar. It's a growing relationship, and extraordinary set of changes happening around the world to start with. Nobody expected such a great tragedy and a great recession in substance in the last 5 months. It is extraordinary for us to see through the human loss we have gone through, over 614,000 as on date. We lost in this planet on account of COVID-19. We have over 14.7 million people infected. We have change in dynamics in multiple forms. Our focus is to manage the disaster recovery, do the remedial management, and get into business continuity. And that's what every country has engaged in. Globally, 194 countries are engaged in making sure this planet is enduring its values for humanity and human prosperity. The economic risk it has created has to be mapped. Many governments across the globe have looked at the fiscal measures, monetary measures. Again, the social risk in terms of social distancing or hygiene or healthcare, we have to look at it objectively and to see, protect our people. And environmental risk we have had, and we are having still in terms of the overall framework, how to find a solution. Perhaps one way of looking at is to recognize the positivity. We have lesser carbon emission, and we are trying to look at alternates to make sure this planet is enduring its values for environmental sustainability. But the issues remains are to be mapped in total terms. And the human risk we are still going through. We are not sure, the solution in total terms unless we have the entire planet is fully administered. Almost 7 billion people are administered, in absolute terms. Otherwise, it's human-to-human transmission. This is endangering the solvency of anyone and everyone. It defied all the logic. It transcended borders. Caste, creed, religion, country, developed world, developing world, name it. It has got no division or border. It has defied the territorial integrity. Human, efforts are there. There is a huge lesson we have learned. One thing we all have learned: when our attitude of mind changes, we change our lives. Our personal makeup has changed. Professional challenges are all about making sure we sustain the value chain. We live in this planet for greater prosperity, and we create a better world for the society. And that's what the focus is all about. That's the bigger picture. Let us look at how Qatar has performed. In the next few slides, I'm going to showcase the global changing dynamics. Again, how Qatar is transforming and how Singapore has taken prudent measures in terms of monetary or fiscal side, and what are the various bilateral opportunities. So far, we have seen the extraordinary chemistry between these two countries. His Excellency, the Ambassador has mentioned in clear terms, whether it is hydrocarbon or non-hydrocarbon, whether it is the overall modernization. These countries have, these two countries have come a long way in building this partnership and recognizing each other's strength and enduring its values to greater prosperity. And that's what here we are. The thousands of people who are watching this webinar will get the value chain. And that's what we're going to discuss in bilateral terms, synergistic opportunities between Qatar and Singapore. Let's move on. First, we're going to look at the global partner, picture. And the International Monetary Fund has set in revision in terms of economic indicators time and again. It was supposed to be 3.6, 3.7% global growth when we met last year in October. And it was revised downward to 3% in January this year in Davos, because the contentious trade issues between China and US and developing world and developed world have their own say. And G7 has become G20 since last financial crisis. Last crisis in 2008 was confined to financial sector. This has defied all the logics. It is a paralysis in substance in terms of business breakdowns, and humanity is at stake. And that's the challenge we have. How do we make it more positive and productive? How do we create value chain out of it? How do we convert the negatives into positives? These are substances we have to understand. How do we bring in the endeavors in terms of recognition? We need to understand. We have to eliminate extreme poverty. We have to bring in food security. We can do it through digital governance, taking this global governance as an opportunity. When we converge to solve this crisis pandemic, we can make the changes in substance. But the challenge is extraordinary. We can bring in digital governance and make sure we can put in enormous prospects for education, online, offline, and making sure even gender equality can be recognized, and we can give women education, women participation in governance through digital support. Hygiene, healthcare, we can bring in. Environment sustainability, we can bring in. Plenty of opportunities for us to interpret in positive terms. Justice, peace, we can bring in through value chain, using the commercial disputes through digital governance. Again, commercial courts, upper or lower, can come in through digital support, and we can dispute resolutions can be cleared in fast track. So plenty of opportunities for us to see through. First, let me start with the IMF. Now, what it has got to say in current context in terms of global productivity. So these are the substance. Global economies is going to grossly underperform in terms of productivity. A contraction of 4.9% is what in April. And again, it is a different revision of late in June. It says a total contraction of not less than 8% in aggregate terms for the developed world, and contraction of 3% in developing or emerging market. In substance, in aggregate terms, global contraction is 4.9%. Here is a clip. So that's the challenge we have. We have a contraction. How do we bring it to normalcy in terms of economic governance? So the technocrats, the central bankers are going to take the monetary tools, accommodative tools. The fiscal, the government is going to initiate the fiscal measures, improving the money supply, reducing the interest rate, improving the debt servicing capacity for individuals or institutions or businesses. And again, making sure some freebies are given to see sustenance is not challenged for individuals and institutions. So we have plenty of alignment required between the monetary and fiscal policy. Every government in the world has engaged in such prudent measures. Between 10 to 15% is the average GDP has been spent on this to make sure we bring in economic sustainable value chain. And let's look at
the U.S. Federal Reserve has kept interest rates unchanged at 0 to 0.25% and said it would keep interest rates near zero through 2022. It also projected the U.S. economy would shrink by 6.5% this year, but bounce back with a 5% gain in 2021.
We're not thinking about raising rates. We're not even thinking about raising rates. So what we're thinking about is providing support for this economy. We do think this is going to take some time.
Yeah, reducing the interest rate and making it almost zero. It may not contract negative, but we have to recognize lowering the interest rate is going to be an enabler for debt servicing. And that's what everyone has done. And globally, monetary policy has been switched on to lower the interest rate. And ECB, again, as an enlarged fraternity, they have taken prudent measures as well. Europe has done, United States has done, the rest of the world has, again, replicated a very similar model in terms of monetary or fiscal framework. Now, Qatar economy, as a country, they have taken enormous measures. 75 billion Qatar Riyal has been allocated, and Qatar economy is going to contract this year to the tune of 4.5 to 4.75%. Possibly it will bounce back next year. We all anticipate the solution will come in terms of clinical framework, and it will be administered so that it will bounce back. Global economies is going to recover. Qatar is not an exception, or Singapore is not an exception for next year. But we have to wait and see when we are going to have the total administration of the medicine or the vaccine, and making sure we put back the normalcy, business as usual. Till then, we have to cross the fingers. Now, when it comes to Qatar economy, we are going to have a marginal current account deficit. And again, Singapore, of course, it's going to have current account surplus. I'll tell you in a minute. But meanwhile, we have, may not be having inflation this year. There could be disinflation to the tune of 1.2%. And we have reasons to believe Qatar has taken enough measures to bring in financial stability. Here are some of the measures.
Located on the region's busiest shipping route, Qatar is perfectly positioned for international trade, with direct air and sea connections to Asia, Africa and Europe. Qatar is becoming a leading destination for next-generation business models. Its thriving, knowledge-based economy has helped secure its place among the most competitive business environments in the world, an ideal destination for foreign investment. The past 4 decades have seen a 9-fold increase in Qatar's population to 2.7 million. The current political blockade by neighbouring countries has only served to strengthen the nation's self-sufficiency, and strategic investment continues to accelerate. Qatar has already spent $33 billion on infrastructure projects, with new contracts to be awarded over the next 3 years, not least with the 2022 FIFA World Cup on the horizon. The national strategy, Vision 2030, is even more ambitious. Qatar is known as the world's leading supplier of liquefied natural gas and a leading player in aviation and sports and the media.
It's all very exciting in terms of vibrancy and plenty of hydrocarbon and non-hydrocarbon. We are going to have the explanation in a minute. And the central bank has taken enormous measure. I'm going to show you, and then we'll go for details in terms of what are the opportunities in terms of hydrocarbon for Singaporean companies and how they are supporting as on date, how we can also partake in the non-hydrocarbon. And already there are enough measures being taken to promote the non-hydrocarbon growth and hydrocarbon. I'm going to explain to you in details on how Singapore and Qatar can come together. We'll discuss in tandem. Now, plenty of support from the Qatar Central Bank in terms of guidelines for healthcare, social distancing, hygiene maintenance, and again, how to digitally leverage on the network, transaction-based processing, where moving from brick and mortar to click, and plenty of shift we could see. And also loan postponement for 6 months, interest postponement, again, wage protection systems companies where we have reasons to believe we should waive the rent or other benefits in terms of customs exemptions for importers who are essentials. Sectors which are not affected, excluded. Most of the sectors are impacted in tandem. We should understand this and accept that. And that's why Qatar government came with the National Guarantee Program through Qatar Development Bank, have both funded as well as non-funded support at the concessional interest. And again, you have a value advantage for 1 year with no repayment required, or specific approval is required. As a joint risk participation, commercial banks and Qatar Development Bank has come together and supported thousands of companies. That's very useful. Overall, financial stability is getting accomplished. And that's what we are in. Now, in terms of overall hydrocarbon,
as I mentioned, regarding the North Field, we are full steam ahead. We are, as we have mentioned in the past, we're going to be awarding all our contracts for North Field expansion project. We have 2 phases, the east and the south expansion. We're going to go from 77 million tons per annum to 110 million tons per annum by 2025, and then up from 110 to 126 by the year 2027. and we've ordered all the shipping requirements, and we've booked slots for about $20 billion we've announced just a couple of weeks ago, and that's at the cost of around $20 billion US, and we've booked up 60% of the entire world's capacity of building LNG ships. So these, we call them our moving pipelines, if you will, but that's to have our full supply chain up and ready by the time we have all the developments in place.
So the hydrocarbon expansion continues. And that's going to happen, and that's going to be productive for the economy. And global supply chain has been measured and managed. Diversification as well as distribution of these production is going to happen in phases. As planned, it is moving ahead. And we also have seen the reflection today. It is energy efficient, environment friendly, with greener postures. The world at large is looking at creating a sustainable economy. And again, green economy building is a must. Energy mix is changing from fossil fuel to renewables, and LNG is a vital role to play. And 5% increase in your energy mix can create enormous amount of carbon reduction. And if you start gradually improving the overall energy mix, less from the foreign fossil fuels, you will have value advantage. You will breathe cleaner air, and you will have less pollutions, and we can bring good society. And that's very important. And let's look at the opportunities in terms of these are some of the engineering marvels. You have excitement in the place now. The 2022 is going to be a major happening in this part of the world, Qatar in particular. So we are all getting ready for it, and you have seen the design and the accomplishments Qatar is getting set, including social distancing is been making sure sustainability is factored into it. Greener posture is factored into it. And that's what is the need of the hour. Look at the airport again.
The world around us has changed and placed new challenges to the travel experience. At Hamad International Airport, we have embraced the change and elevated our safety measures. We are adopting new wearable intelligent technology. Smart screening helmets are safe and effective. It uses advanced technologies like infrared thermal imaging, artificial intelligence, and augmented reality display. Staff will continue to be screened, as well as passengers, at arrival and boarding points. We have also introduced disinfection robots, which reduce the spread of infectious germs in crucial areas using ultraviolet light. Thorough sanitization and disinfection will continue to take place at all high contact areas. Baggage handling belts, trolleys and tubs will be routinely disinfected. All departing, arriving and transferring baggage will be disinfected as well. hand sanitizers will be made available at all key locations. Social distancing of 1.5 meters will continue to be established through floor markings, clear signage, and implementing distance seating. We are here, and we are ready to provide you with a safe journey in the future so that you can travel with confidence once again.
So that is the International Airport, Ahmad International Airport getting set. And today morning, we read the news that you have relaxation in terms of the overall travel, and there are conditions precedent, but it is going to improve the overall business climate. We also have Qatar Exchange Traded Fund. We have floated a very successful administration for investors who want to have silver bullet solution. This is the first exchange traded fund. It's economy and one index, that is one traded fund. Best of the breed, and the Qatar economic fundamentals are strong. Let me move on to the next one. So in the free zone
Authority is establishing a cluster of free zones, including Ras Bafuntas, located beside Hamad International Airport, the best airport in the Middle East, and Al Hul, with direct access to Hamad Port, the world's biggest greenfield port development. Qatar free zones offer foreign investors 100% ownership, zero customs duty and corporation tax, no individual income tax, quick building permits, and access to a skilled workforce. On the ground, free zones also provide fully serviced plots, dedicated security, hotel and retail facilities, as well as advanced broadband to ensure optimal connectivity. While Qatar welcomes investment in any sector, exciting opportunities already exist in logistics, e-commerce, food packaging, pharmaceuticals, and plastics. With an eye to the future, we're also focused on disruptive industries, such as renewable energy, power storage solutions, and artificial intelligence. Be part of the Qatar Free Zones initiative, with everything in place, from essential infrastructure and facilities to ease of shipping and customs. Your business can flourish as a truly global player in partnership with the Qatar Free Zones Authority.
Qatar Free Zone is a bigger opportunity. You have economic zone to support. Free zone, you're seeing the taxation rate is bare minimum, it's flat. And Singaporean companies can come in here. We are here to support. Now we have, Ambassador has just mentioned, Gulf Singapore Free Trade Agreement in September 2013. That's the starting point. Now we invite more and more Singaporean companies. We have Enterprise Qatar, we have Qatar Singapore Business Council, and Doha Bank is there for you. In fact, plenty of opportunities for us. Even if you're a small and medium-sized entrepreneurship, you have reasons to believe that we can support. We are the number one in terms of small and medium-sized entrepreneurs. We're the first one to start in 2006, and recently we are collaborating with Qatar Development Bank on the Al-Damin programs, and we are a partner support through our Tadri program as well as Al-Damin programs alliance with Qatar Development Bank. That's interesting for Singaporean companies to explore this market and experiment and the opportunities. Let me move on. And Qatar investment is substantial investment has gone in bilateral terms, and as His Excellency has mentioned, a strategic relationship, and they have joint investment participation through Singaporean Sovereign Fund and Qatar investment authorities have done in the past, and Qatar itself has invested in multiple form and substance in Singapore. It's a growing relationship, and we are here to explore further opportunities to promote the bilateral values. And we have hydrocarbon. We have growing relationship, and as His Excellency has mentioned, a strategically important hub for Qatar LNG exports in the region. Singapore is always a hub, whether trade or manufacturing or for that matter, LNG is a bigger opportunity for us to look at Asia Pacific as well as Southeast Asia, as the ambassador has mentioned. I remember, Keppel Group has joined venture tie-up with Nakilat, and last year itself you've mentioned 6.4 billion, and this year also is growing in spite of the challenges in the global economy. Now, as the MOU signed between Qatar Chamber and Singapore Business Federation for trade and investment is important, that we will further invite the opportunities in bilateral terms. Now, we also have to understand that the market momentum is picking up in multiple forms. Keppel Group work on North Sewage treatment workers, and Qatar Emir has visited in October 2017, and Qatar Chamber and Commerce arranged a business meet with Singaporean companies in April 2018, and we hosted the Singaporean companies in our own building here. And Singaporean companies in Qatar projects, new Doha International Projects, Customs Authority, they have partaken. So it is a growing relationship, and whether it is funded or non-funded support, as we rightly said. On the banking side, we have plenty of.
يعتبر توفر بوابة إلكترونية موثوقة لخدمة الإنترنت المصرفي أمرا ذا أهمية قصوى. أهلا وسهلا بكم في البوابة.
So that is the SME for you. Now, on the banking side, we have growing relationship between Singaporean banks and Doha Bank. Over the years, the financial institution relationship has been exemplary in bilateral terms. Now, the final part of it, the last part of our webinar today, and we have seen the model economy of Singapore, even though it's going to go through contraction this year on account of COVID, it is going to bounce back. And I am excited about the overall fiscal and monetary measures, supplementary budgets in multiple forms. Nearly 3 to 4 times they have taken fiscal prudence to see that measuring it, and when it comes to healthcare, how beautifully managed, how extraordinary the support systems were. The mortality rate is very minimum, and looking at the overall cases depicted, also registered as on date, is also measurable. It's an excellent administration. That's what we are, happy about Singapore, and Singapore is known for its class. Look at the overall.
Now, the central bank has eased its monetary policy amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The widely expected move effectively weakens the Singapore dollar. As Brandon Tanoto reports, it's the most aggressive move by the MAS since the 2009 financial crisis.
Weakening the Singapore dollar will be an upside for a trade-reliant and open economy like Singapore.
When it comes to the export competitiveness as well, today's easing would help bring down the currency slightly, which may help with some of the businesses that are trying to export.
Economists say the latest policy shift won't have any immediate impact on the daily lives of Singaporeans, but the central bank's deflation forecast could.
Oil prices are going to stay low for quite a prolonged period, and domestically with lower consumer sentiments as well as a weaker labour market, you may see a decline in demand, which would result to a fall in prices. So I think inflationary pressures will not exist in 2020. We will likely see prices of most of goods and services come down because of the reduction in demand.
That's interesting, isn't it? As well as March they've taken, and the percentage is over 10% at the time. Now it has improved further.
Singapore's government on Tuesday announced another 33 billion Singapore dollars, $23, $2 billion to support its economy, which has been severely hit by the coronavirus pandemic. That's the fourth stimulus package that the Southeast Asian country has announced since the outbreak. It came after Singapore's Ministry of Trade and Industry slashed its forecasts for gross domestic product. It now expects GDP to shrink by between 4.0% and 7.0% in 2020, its third downgrade in economic projections this year. Along with the previous three stimulus packages, Singapore will spend nearly 100 billion Singapore dollars, $70, $4 billion, to help businesses and households manage the economic impact of the coronavirus. That's almost 20% of the country's GDP, said Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Heng Swee Keat. This is a landmark package, and a necessary response to an unprecedented crisis, Heng said in a speech to Parliament.
That's over 20%. That's huge. 70.4 billion. That's what exactly. But there are bilateral opportunities, bilateral visits being attempted. His Highness Amir visited Singapore in October 2017. And again, Qatar's Deputy Prime Minister visited in August 2019. Let's look at the clips. In bilateral terms, things are improving. His Highness and the Prime Minister of Singapore, Qatar. Qatar delivers to Pavilion Gas in Singapore in April 2018. That's also a good development, LNG cargo. And we have Qatar Chamber of Commerce again, instituting joint meeting. We hosted some of the companies, and it's a growing relationship.
Singapore and Qatar have reaffirmed their warm and friendly ties after an official visit here by Qatar's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister. Mr. Sheikh Mohammed Abdurrahman Al Thani called on President Halimah Yacob.
He also called on Deputy Prime Minister Heng Swee Keat to discuss ways to deepen relations in finance and trade. He and Singapore Foreign Minister Vivian Balakrishnan then co-chaired a meeting to discuss collaboration in the area of business, information and communications technology and law.
2 agreements were signed. Mr. Sheikh Mohammed also called on Senior Minister and Coordinating Minister for National Security, Teo Chee Hean. They discussed regional and international developments.
So it's a growing partnership. We have seen the reflection again. Senior Minister Teo Chee Hean visited in November last year. And we have discussed the trade, we have discussed the hydrocarbon, we have discussed the non-hydrocarbon with plenty of opportunities in Qatar as well. So we are going to build this partnership more than ever. We are going to make sure this Qatar-Singapore synergistic opportunities are leveraged in total terms. Here is a bank with an extraordinary settings, having an office way back in 2006, His Excellency Sheikh Abdullah bin Saud Al Thani, the Governor of the Central Bank, visited to Singapore and inaugurated our office in Suntec, and we are holding a strong relationship over the years, and we are here to host your delegation. We are here to work with US partners, with the federations, with the joint ventures, the investment partnership which we can create. We can add value in multiple forms, including the alliance required in total terms. Our representative office is waiting to hear from you, and our outlook is stable. We are A-rated bank, and Doha Bank is going to be a partner for years to come for your friendly needs. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind attention. I also compliment the speakers, and I will request now Ivan to say a few words as a closing remark.